Alliance for the Brave, a program that advocates for our active military, veterans, and first responders. Presented by Gear Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
Here, everywhere across the United States, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, first responders, and American patriots who want to come on board. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran, a certified senior advisor, and I got to tell you, this is a great day. We're talking about American independence, we're talking about the American family, and we're talking about the military child. And when I want to talk about kids, I call Colonel Jeff Galt, U.S. Army, retired. Colonel Galt, welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you, Jim. We really appreciate you having us here, and thank you on behalf of the volunteers for the Army Scholarship Foundation.
Yeah, and so when we think of the 4th of July, I think of the kids sitting there with the sparklers and watching the fireworks and the excitement, and it's a chance to, in effect, reinforce American independence.
Yes, and to reinforce the patriotism that all of us share, and particularly that our military families and our military children share.
Yeah, I think the 4th of July is more for kids than the adults, but who knows? One of the big things, though, Jeff, is you traveled all over the world. You were in 20 some odd moves. What was it like to have the 4th of July in another country?
Well, it's very different, of course. These the military families are living abroad, usually on a small installation or a concern in Europe and Germany, and we're not able to celebrate fully with fireworks and stuff like that in most, but they generally would have little celebrations. Everyone would wear the patriotic red, white, and blue.
Just like you did.
Just like I'm wearing mine to celebrate today. And in some places you were able to do a smaller fireworks demonstration, other places not so. So they didn't often have or always have the fireworks like you're able to view here in various parts of the country.
But one of the big things, and again, how special is the 4th of July, but for the military family who really revolves around patriotism, but they're moving all the time.
Yes.
Yes. And how many different schools did your children go to?
Well, we had 3 kids, and each one of them, by the time they finished high school, had gone to 8 different schools.
Good heavens. Now, Colonel Galt, does this put somewhat of a strain not only on the family but on the educational in trying to get into colleges, trying to get into training programs?
Yes, and that's our role, is to help these kids with that. But, of course, with the frequent moves, first of all, the family income is less because oftentimes the spouse works and has to start over in every new job, in every new location at the bottom of the rung, usually. But the kids switching schools so often, they have to make new friends, different grading systems, different school graduation requirements, and then in particular they miss out on the extracurricular activities. You know, most moves are in the summer. And when they come into a new area, the cheerleaders have been chosen, the class officers have been selected the following spring or the previous spring, and so they miss out. Even teams have been set. The band has been established. And so for a new military child to break into that is very, very difficult, and then having to do that over and over, they just don't have the continuity with leadership positions, extracurricular activities, sports, and all of the other things that a normal civilian kid gets to experience without having to make all these transitions.
And especially, what about the Gold Star families? What about the families who have lost a service member in the line of duty or in the military? The loss there, I mean, they go back to communities and they're missing a parent.
Yes, and that's traumatic, of course, as it is with any family that loses a parent, but particularly for the military. You know, we've all seen the television stories where a chaplain and an officer in uniform comes up and knocks on the door, and how heartbreaking that can be, but especially for a child to lose their father. on a deployment, and it's difficult in that they don't see the parents that often anyway, because the military member is frequently deployed multiple times throughout a kid's growing up.
So here on the 4th of July, we think about patriotism, we think about the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting in air, and all of those wonderful things. But we don't always realize, we think of the military member, you and me, when I served in Vietnam, we don't think about the family and what they're going through, which can be very traumatic and can be very, very difficult. Yet your Army Scholarship Foundation supports those children, supports those kids and spouses, and you have given me and you've given Diane the honor of allowing us to go through when you do the selection process and read all of these stories, which are incredible, amazing stories of military children.
Yes.
I got to tell you, Jeff, if when I go to my grave, I'm going to say, man, I had the chance to learn from these children. I think you've got some great stories, so we're not going to tell who, but let's tell a story and read one of these children's stories.
Well, of course, as I said, these military members deploy multiple times during the childhood as their kids are growing up. But here's one that was particularly compelling. My dad is my hero. My dad was killed in action when I was only 4 years old. I did not get to spend as much time with him as I should have. I believe that greatly affected me because I grew up without a father figure. My sister was a baby when our dad was killed. My father did not even get to see her or hold her in person. He was deployed a few weeks before she was born. I sympathize with her because she never got to experience him like I do. Even though she never met him, she experienced a great loss as well. My dad was the kind of guy that everyone drifted to. He was a leader. His presence was always felt. He was a type of person that everyone loved.
Wow. How can you not identify and feel your heartstrings tugging for this child?
Yes. And of course, they also have financial hardship in that the breadwinner is gone now.
Yes.
They do receive some minor funds from the federal government, but essentially they're on their own and they have to make their way.
And a lot of times these families, Gold Star families, go back to be where either his family or her family or their place of origin and start all over again. But they don't have a parent to go to the PTA, to go to the mother-daughter, mother-son, father-daughter, father-son. They don't have the Cub Scout leader.
Yes.
They don't have the soccer coach.
Yes.
And where you come in, though, is this Army Scholarship Foundation provides a scholarship for these kids to be able to go and get a better education.
Yes, to help them to improve themselves and to go to college or technical school, beyond high school. That's our mission, is to help those who have sacrificed so much for us.
Now, the Army Scholarship Foundation, where can people go to find out about it and go to donate? Because this program today is not about the rocket's red glare. It's about the children of the military family that we want to help. So where can they go for the foundation?
Our website is www.armyscholarshipfoundation.org, all one word, armyscholarshipfoundation.org.
And you and your wonderful wife, Rose, and all of the people involved, there are no salaries. It's all volunteer.
Now, that's one of the things that's particularly unique about our foundation, is that it is all volunteers. We have a cadre and a team of about 60 volunteers nationwide who help us to accomplish our mission. There are no paid salaries. You often hear about some nonprofits that have excessive salaries for some of their leadership. That's not an issue with us.
One of the things, too, that these people, these kids who get these scholarships have a very, very, very high success rate
Yes.
of graduating from school.
Yes.
And I think part of the reason for that is what we know about what these kids say about themselves. Let me read the first paragraph of a letter that was included. Excuse me. I have lived in 2 different countries, 4 different states, attended 6 different schools as a military child. As a military child, you must be able to adapt to new environments, new people, new lifestyles. Growing up in the military community has absolutely impacted my current life as well as my future. Being a military child makes you stronger. Being a military child makes you stronger. And I got to tell you, that right there. So we want to help. You guys give out how many scholarships a year, Jeff?
Well, we average well over 200. Last year it was down a little bit due to the COVID and less available funding. We gave out 202. The year before that we gave out 278. This year we're looking to give out 300 scholarships.
And that's important. So we need to raise money. I'm here. I'm making an all out. This is an infomercial. I want you to know this is and Diane and I are going to be giving money. We have given time. We want to support the military child. And this is one of the best ways that you can do that. So when you're sitting there on Sunday, and you're watching the Rockets' red glare. Think of guys like Jeff Galt, who manned and commanded a Patriot missile battery. You knew what it was when that dude fired off. But the important thing is about, look at the children around you. Look at the awe in their eyes. And they're not in a foreign country with a mommy and daddy in the military. They're right here. And they've got all of the advantages of being in this country, in this nation, and being able to enjoy not only the freedoms, but the opportunities. And these kids are not victims. They said, and this girl wrote this and said, being a military child makes you stronger. I think that's what we all need to be thinking about is, how do we get stronger? And again, the Scholarship Foundation recognizes these children. Now, one of the other things about the Scholarship Foundation that I love is you're preparing these kids and helping them to get other scholarships.
Yes. We find, obviously, we don't have enough funds to provide a scholarship for every qualified and deserving applicant of a military child. And we don't give enough money for them to have a full ride. But what we see is among our applicants is they will cobble together multiple scholarships from various sources, and they learn from our process how to do that. And so that's how they end up paying for their college education, because as I said earlier, the wherewithal that military families have financially is significantly less on average than it is in their civilian counterpart families. With the job changes and the lower overall income and having to start over with jobs at the bottom. So they learn how to be innovative and how to apply for and search for other scholarships in order to be able to accomplish their education.
I got to tell you, here's another one. As a military child, and this child wrote this, my father's military service undeniably impacted my life. His service taught me humbleness, determination, and to be faithful. The pain that comes along with the service changes your life. The constant moving, the fear of the unknown affected my life mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. My life as a military child shaped me into the person that I am today. All right, we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring the education, information, and communication. A special thanks that we're talking with Colonel Jeff Galt, Army Scholarship Foundation. A special thanks to our team, Robin Valtudo, Executive Director, Diane on the social media, and Christy running the boards for us. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave.
Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. You've got Jim Blythe and Colonel Jeff Galt. Jeff, you got to man artillery, the anti-missiles, so you knew what the rocket's red glare was. And if you fired one of those dudes off, you knew we had a problem.
If you hear a Patriot missile go off, you know you've heard something. They are very, very loud.
Oh, wow. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the military child. And I want to thank the caller who called in from Florida. I really appreciate you coming on board. Make sure Diane has your information. We'd like to connect with you and get you on a program in the future. I am so thankful for everybody in Facebook watching us, enjoying this with us, and we're recording this program to be played. You're going to get to hear it in Jacksonville before too long. But, Jeff, one of the most amazing things as we went through the applications for the scholarships, I got to read the essay of one child that just really touched my heart.
Yes.
I'm going to read this, and it is just the most amazing thing I think I've ever read. In the silence, the flag was folded back and forth until they handed the large triangle to me. I could hardly get my arms around it. After the honor guard fired into the air, white gloves handed me a small card. Thank you for your dad's service to our country. My father died in 2012, and I was in the 3rd grade. At that age, I didn't understand the financial situation we were in, but my father's death left my family struggling financially for many years. We spent the next 8 years living with families and friends, moving from place to place between 3 different states, while Mom's dream was to own her own home with a treehouse for me in the backyard. This dream was elusive. Although I didn't know much about money as a kid, I made it my goal to somehow relieve some of the financial burden for my single mom. During high school, I decided to start my own mobile car detailing business. After many hours of online research, I soaked up everything written about the tools, techniques to deep clean cars, from the soaps that were most effective to the type of brushwork that best get the grease stains out of the upholstery. With no real startup money besides a few $100s of saved up birthday money, I began working, was able to help my mom in some of the household bills of high school. Getting good grades was always very important to me, and I worked really hard in high school with the goal of attending college. I look forward to getting a great education to make a difference in my community. Receiving an Army Scholarship Foundation award would greatly impact my life and help me to achieve my goal. I know this kid's going to get one. When I evaluated this one, you wouldn't believe what I wrote on that one. Yeah. Man.
And that's the problem with receiving so many applications, all from deserving military family members, is that we just don't have enough money to give every deserving kid a scholarship. And so you have to score them, and then you have to put them in an order of merit list, if you will. And at a certain point, depending upon how much money we have to draw a line, and those below the line, unfortunately, we have to say no to. And that just breaks our heart, to say no to a deserving kid who is struggling with their family, whether their military father has been killed or died, or whether he's still serving, because military families and military salaries in the civilian economy are far less than their counterparts elsewhere.
Jeff, we need to raise, come on, look, how many applications did you have?
We had 500 applications.
500 applications. We need to raise about what, $250,000?
Yes.
So if you're listening in, if you're watching on Facebook, listening in, if you're listening in on terrestrial radio, whether it's in Dallas, in Jacksonville, in Norfolk, in Cedar Rapids, in Phoenix, in Reno, in San Antonio, Chicago. You run a company, you want to make a 501c3 contribution, you want to make a difference in a military child's life. Go to ArmyScholarshipFoundation.org. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. We want you to pull out your pen and help us on this 4th of July weekend to help the Army Scholarship Foundation. We'll be right back. I'm having so much fun. Christy, you're doing an incredible job.
Oh, we're trying. Next segment's like 15 and a half minutes, okay?
Okay.
So you got plenty of time. When the music starts, you'll have like a minute on the outro.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at AllianceForTheBrave.com. And now, back to Alliance for the Brave.
Welcome back. You're on board with Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. I did 4 years on aircraft carriers in Vietnam, and then I got the wonderful opportunity to go out to the USS Truman while they did carrier quals and meet the sailors. Let me tell you, they are so focused on education. You wouldn't even believe what the Navy, what the Army, what the Air Force does in terms of education of our active duty military.
Yes.
But we begin to then fall down when it comes to the military child because they're bounced from school to school to school, right, Jeff?
Yes, and there generally are no programs within the military to help the kids. I mean, you get some assistance when you arrive at a new place, but particularly in the United States, when you go from installation to installation, the kids are just thrown into a new school and have to fend for themselves, quite honestly.
Now, is that a school on the base or is that a school in the community?
It can be either one, and my kids did both. If you live on a military installation, there are oftentimes schools on the installation that the kids go to, and every other child is a military child just like you are. But also there are many in the civilian world where they have to break in and start over, and you are the new kid on the block. You're in a different family situation from most of the other kids. It's very challenging.
So what we're talking about is the military child on this 4th of July in making this a program to raise money. We need to raise about $250,000. So I want you to go to ArmyScholarshipFoundation.org, correct?
Yes,
Jeff?
yes.
And this is Colonel Jeff Galt, who heads the foundation with his beautiful wife, Rose. And I got to tell you, there are nobody with bigger hearts in America than these two people. And this is important. They're volunteers. They don't take a penny out of this. Every nickel that's donated goes to help a child.
Yes.
And so you have given away almost 300 one year, 200 and some odd. We had 500 applications this year.
Yes, yes. And that's the sad part of our process. Unfortunately, in prior years, we've had to turn down somewhere between 50% and 33% of the qualified and deserving applicants just because we don't have enough money to help them all.
So how are we going to do that? Well, here with Alliance for the Brave, I want you to pull out your checkbook, pull out your credit card. It ain't going to hurt you. If you're going to be spending money at the highway stand to buy fireworks, it ain't going to hurt you to put $100 or $200 into the biggest fireworks show in the world, which is helping a kid go to college, right?
Yes, yes.
I told you, I'm going to pull out the stops to help this scholarship foundation. And if you say, well, wait a minute, I was Navy, I was Air Force, I was Coast Guard, there's scholarship foundations within those organizations as well. But this is the Army Scholarship Foundation. This is Jeff Galt, and he represents all of these. So I want to read another one. This is from a beautiful young lady. I know because the way she writes. From time I was a young child with no idea what it was that I would decide to do with my life, I knew my hero, who my hero was. Most kids my age would probably tell you that their hero is a singer or their favorite athlete. Some may say a teacher, may even say their mom or their dad or their coach. Like many other of the students, I'm sure that they're applying for this scholarship. I will tell you that my dad, veteran Army National Guard Sergeant, is my hero. He shares the title in my life with my mom. I've always believed that being raised in the military family makes you very different from your peers. This is what we've been talking about, Jeff.
Yes.
Because they go from school to school. These kids have to become adaptive survivors.
Yes, yes.
These are the kids that we want to see, and they will be the leaders in the next generation.
And sadly, they're always playing catch up because they come into a new school, they have to adapt to, they have to make new friends, they have to adapt to the new systems, sports teams, everything.
And reading this young lady's deal, from a young age, I was aware of the reality that serving in the military was pretty tough. And her dad served 3 tours in Iraq, initially deployed when my mom was pregnant with me. Brought me into the world while my dad was in a third world country somewhere fighting for America that we know and love. This is why I must include my mom in the role of my hero. Wow. Mom raised her brother and I alone, showing us endless amounts of love, never letting us see our own fear that her husband may never walk through the front door of our house again. For that, she was a selfless person I know, a warrior in her own right. And then growing up, I witnessed my dad struggle with the aftermath of war, behind-the-scenes battle that no one talks about or understands. I watched him fight PTS. Doesn't end just when a soldier comes home. My dad taught me incredible strength, allowing me to recognize that I can overcome any obstacle. Over the years, my heroes have continued to support my goals and my dreams, even at their own expense. This is why they share the role of my hero. A strong soldier, selfless wife. I am beyond grateful for my parents. Wow, that was an essay about who is my hero from a military child talking about that. And this is why we've got to help these children.
Yes, and that's what we see is many of these military children have experienced their loved one, their soldier father or soldier mother even, being gone on multiple deployments. And you can imagine when the parent, one of the parents is gone for 12, 13 months at a time, what that does to the family dynamic, what that does to their ability to survive and some of the challenges that they occur, whether it be a flat tire with a car or a breakdown or an illness. There are so many things that they have to deal with, always worrying because the soldier is most often in harm's way, always worrying that that phone call or that visitor at the door will come.
We don't understand the stress. If I could make an analogy, you live 24/7 in a stressful situation.
Yes.
Even when you're off base, even when you're on R&R, you never know when you may have to go back. I know a story of one veteran told me that he was a cook. And all of a sudden they came running in, handed him a rifle, and they said, the Japanese are invading. We need you now. Wait a minute, I'm a cook. Okay, grab your rifle and your meat cleaver and come on, we got to fight. Mm-hmm. You never know. On an aircraft carrier that I was on, you never knew. Our biggest threat was to ourselves, not to the enemy, because we were launching and landing aircraft loaded with jet fuel, with bombs, rockets, all kinds of ordnance. And there's a stress, there's a tension. And when that last young lady talked about her dad's PTS, that's something that comes from tremendous stress. Yes. And is something that is very evident in the military community. You can't even imagine if you tried to spend 24 hours a day on a packed freeway doing 80 miles an hour with cars all around you, how stressful that would be. Well, military is even more so. It's 24/7, correct, Jeff?
Yes, yes. And military life is very, very dangerous. I mean, we read too often about a helicopter crash or an aircraft crash or a vehicle rollover where multiple service members are killed, even during peacetime when they're here in training within the United States. Not to mention, of course, being in a hostile fire zone or combat overseas. It's just, you never know when something may happen, or a vehicle may, an aircraft may have a malfunction. It's difficult.
Yeah,
difficult
I watched more than one aircraft. I remember Lieutenant Denny Earl got shot in the foot and the leg, brought his A4 back aboard the ship, and when Neff opened the canopy to get him out, he had to turn around and throw up because he'd never seen so much blood in his life. Denny Earl, I saw him about 3 or 4 years ago. That surgeon did an incredible job. But the risk is always there. There's risk on the highway. There's risk when I drive to Oklahoma. There is risk for anybody anywhere. But this stress also affects the military family. And that's why I think the military child deserves special support. And that's what you and Rose bring, is you bring this Army Scholarship Foundation. And one of the things in going through that grading, looking at all of the information that they have to put together, writing these essays, that's got to be a preparation to apply for scholarships elsewhere, right,
yes,
Jeff?
Yes, absolutely. They are, it's quite an experience, and they learn. And of course, having to write down or think of all of your extracurricular activities, the jobs you've had, all of your experiences as you're going through high school or college and preparing. And that's another point that you raised that surprised me years ago when we started doing this, is the number of kids in high school who are working 20, 30, 40 hours a week while they're studying in high school. It's just amazing. And then and of course that hampers their ability to be on extracurricular activities, clubs, sports, band, what have you. But there are a lot of these military kids that do both. They are working full-time, they're going to school full-time, and yet they still have time to do community activities, charitable work, so many of them helping others. It's astonishing.
I'm amazed, too, in one that I read, and I don't know if it's here that you brought, but the child talks about how they helped with the ministry, how they helped with the church, how they helped in teaching the Sunday school class and what they did. I'm like, wow, when did you ever get the time to do that? So these kids are exceptional, and they've been through basically a trial of fire, wouldn't you say?
Yes,
Of
absolutely.
being a military child?
Yes. Literally and figuratively, really.
Okay,
For
so
the parent.
if somebody gives $100, it goes to help. If somebody could give $1,000, that's a scholarship for a child, right?
Yes, on average, our scholarship awards are $1,000 or a little bit more.
Okay.
It's not going to pay for the kids' education, but it's certainly a significant step and a significant amount for them. And as we mentioned earlier, we find that these kids are innovative, and they cobble together multiple scholarships from different sources to be able to achieve their college, their educational dreams.
3 years ago, Jeff, I was at the luncheon, and you had a young lady get up and speak,
Yes.
whose husband, she was a spouse of
Yes.
the military, and she went to TWU
Yes.
nursing school,
Yes.
if I remember correctly. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that young lady and her story,
Well,
would you?
Samantha lived in Fort Worth. Her husband was in the Army and was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. She was raising 2 children under the age of 10, going to school full-time at Texas Women's University, and working full-time to make ends meet, to pay for child care and so on and so forth. So she commuted every day from Fort Worth to Denton, where TWU was. Her husband was gone. She saw him occasionally on weekends and working her way through school. And we gave her a scholarship that meant the world of difference to her, enabled her to graduate from TWU. And the interesting thing was that there was a Defense Corporation executive in the audience.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when she spoke, and he was so impressed with her skills in juggling job, commuting, children, and school that he thought, geez, this young lady really is talented. We need to hire her. And he offered her a job on the spot, which she took, and after she graduated, and has worked successfully in that company ever since, and has received a couple of promotions since she started.
Wow. Wow. So one of the things when we're talking about the military, I think the military changed me. I know it changed me dramatically.
Yes.
And this relates to the military child. So when we come back from all of these messages, we're going to continue this conversation about the Army Scholarship Foundation. This is Jim Blythe with Colonel Jeff Galt. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. Look, you're watching us put together this pre-recorded program. And to my buddy down in Florida, make sure you get us your information. Send me an email on Alliance for the Brave, Jim at AllianceForTheBrave.com. We'd love to have you tell your story. This is a great opportunity. So before we go back on the terrestrial radio that we're recording, again, I want to introduce you to Colonel Jeff Galt, one of the finest men I know. His beautiful wife couldn't be with us. I'm sure she wants to be because she's at the dentist office, right?
Yes.
All right, this is about the 4th of July and honoring the military child. So, Christy, let's start it up again, dear. You don't know how much fun this is doing radio. I really enjoy it. And I hope maybe someday you get to do something you enjoy as well.
Well, you know, we have a Facebook page too.
Yeah.
Army Scholarship Foundation.
Yeah,
so
we'll
if
get
you're
this
Facebook
posted over.
lookers, they can look.
All right. Are we ready to go? Really? Okay, let's do it. Let's wrap this puppy up.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at AllianceForTheBrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. This is Jim Blythe and Colonel Jeff Galt, U.S. Army retired. Colonel Galt is head of the Army Scholarship Foundation. If you've tuned in late, we are trying to raise money. We're not trying. We're going to raise money for scholarships for military kids. I want to read you just an excerpt out of one of the essays. Furthermore, being part of a military life has made me appreciate the freedom in our country and those who risked their lives defending and fighting for it. Going to the various events in the past, I always recognized the aspect that soldiers had for one another, the respect that they had for one another and those around them. Seeing this respect, compassion, and trust through their difficult challenges. Now, I got to tell you, when we talk about difficult challenges, the Army child has a tough time. We've talked about the relocation. We've talked about the fact they sometimes cannot get included in school activities. Yet every one of these that I read, and I read about 30 a couple of weeks ago, was sterling, was outstanding. I got to tell you, if I won the lottery, I'd be writing some big checks because this is about America's future and these children. We're talking about patriotism in the 4th of July, Jeff. How can you be patriotic? Support the military child by supporting the Army Scholarship Foundation. Give out that address again, Jeff.
It's www.armyscholarshipfoundation.org, all one word, armyscholarshipfoundation.org. That's our website. There is a link to make donations there. There's also, by the way, a link to our upcoming event. We're going to have an event in the Dallas area if any of our listeners are in DFW, we have an annual Help Our Heroes luncheon.
Hey, you got a spare table? I want to get a table.
Yes,
man.
yes, and it'll be on Friday the 5th of November at the Frontiers of Flight Museum.
Oh, that's a fun place.
Next to Love Field, yes.
But just because you're not in Dallas or Fort Worth, you can support. This is a worldwide. Some of the things I read came from kids that were overseas.
Oh, yes. Our applications are from worldwide, wherever our military serves. We usually get a significant number of applications from kids who are stationed with their parents in Germany, in Italy, in Korea, even Japan, or some of the embassies worldwide. We do receive a significant number of kids' applications from overseas.
What would you say to a young man or woman who's thinking about going into the military, making a career of it out of high school? What I see of what it does for people is amazing.
Yes, it's a great opportunity to build maturity, to learn skills, to continue your education, and of course, to see the world.
Yeah, let's see. You were in Europe primarily, right?
Yes, primarily.
Okay. I was on aircraft carriers because they say join the Navy and see the world. How about Okinawa, the Philippines, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Hawaii, California? I covered South Pacific pretty heavily.
Yes.
So we want to say thank you very, very much for your donation to the Army Scholarship Foundation. You're going to have a couple of beers. You're going to have a hamburger, a hot dog on the 4th of July. Think about the kid that wants to go to college who will be the leader of our next generation, and what they have endured, what they have had is on-the-job training for life experience by being a military child. That's why we support the Army Scholarship Foundation. Christy, I want to say a quick prayer. Thank you, Jesus, for our military child. Protect them, protect their families, protect our military active duty, protect our veterans. Thank you in Jesus' name. Thank you, Colonel Galt, for being on board with me. This has been Alliance for the Brave, a special edition for the military child in the Army Scholarship Foundation. Go to the ArmyScholarshipFoundation.org. Thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave.
Thank you, Jim.
Barely even 18, not sure what lies in store.